4 days we have to be in Pennsylvania at the BleepinJeep Fest. So wish me luck. So despite being in a rush to get all this complete, a build like this to me is all about the details. And when we were building this front axle, I thought, well, there's a lot of blank space right there that seems kind of like it needs a little touch. So when we redid the logo a while back, I had these made, and I thought that would be the perfect place. So during the build process, I put 4 holes right there, and now I'm going to take these and just rivet them in place. It'll add a nice little touch, and it won't be so boring. Check this out, I wanted to show you this. I'm building the hydraulic hoses for the rear steer, and I picked up this kit from Trail Gear. There's a little bag. It came with 2 90s, 2 straights, and then 10 foot of hose. I picked up 2 of them, and I hope to have extra because I always carry extra of these. What's nice about these is that you can repair them. They're rebuildable, so if you were to cut your hose on the trail, you just cut it shorter, move that down, and you can rebuild it, or you can carry extra hose with you. Now the thing I'm a little concerned about is that the PSC ones of these have much more engagement. They're about that long. So if I blow a rear steering hose, you'll know who to blame for that. But I'm going to try it and see how this works out. So the first thing that you want to do is grab your hose, and you'll notice that these are reverse thread. If you get this wrong, it can be really bad. I've seen that happen. So when you go put that on, lefty tighty, and you want to bottom that all the way out. So just keep on going until it hits the bottom of the hose, and you can actually see it down in there. See that? I'm going to do a straight one in this case. So I'm going to put that in the vise to make it easier. I like to lubricate that a little bit. Now when you go put this in, it's not righty. It is righty-tighty, it's not reverse thread. And we're just going to crank that down until it hits the bottom. And what that's going to do is expand inside there and squeeze these two together, and you have a hydraulic hose. Okay, there we go. Now we'll cut the other side to length, and I'll put the 90s on, but I can't do that until it's in the vehicle. So now, keen-eyed viewers from the last episode, a lot of you said that we covered up the port for the breather. We did, but we made a hole for it right here, so it's still accessible. In hindsight, I probably should have put it somewhere else, but I just made a little extension. These are kind of cool. It's like a little breather. I wouldn't put this on a vehicle that runs down the highway, but for a crawler, perfectly fine. And what that does is just lets it breathe without having to vent it to open air. Perfect. Oh. So we're checking out where that binds. You want to make sure that when you install anything, including your drive shaft, that you check like the furthest it can come down until your shocks bottom out. So this one is just barely there. The front one is going to need a little clearancing because the 1350s don't have as much travel as even a 1310. I think 1410s are better, but they're even bigger around. So we are just about maxed out as far as you can go here because of this cross member right there. Things are very tight. Alright guys, it's getting late. We got to be on a trailer tomorrow. We're going to lower this down, put the tires on it, take it out for a spin first thing in the morning, and then head to Pennsylvania.
I'm gonna take you on a ride.
Oh, she looks so stealthy. Look at that. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's so cool.
Bed. Hey, dude. Where you going? Where you going? Huh? Babe, you got a toad in here. Oh, so cute.
Alright guys, Scorpion 2.0 is finished. We have to be on a trailer and headed to Bantam in Pennsylvania today. But before that happens, I want to go over all the new stuff that we did to this. So, up front, we have a Fusion axle, Dana 60. We have all Yukon gear internals, and of course Ron from Red Scorpion helped me assemble all that. It's a high pinion Dana 60 in the front, so when I decided to do this, I thought, oh, we'll just swap axles, it'll be quick, no big deal. Well, one change leads to other changes, and it just spiraled into a huge nightmare, mainly because of the high pinion. There was a lot of issues with clearancing. But it turned out really well. We have a Barnes truss and the Barnes full hydro steering. Coupon code for that, by the way, is lowercase BleepinJeep. You get 10% off if you want to use that. Also, I'll leave it in the description below if you forget. We've got the PSC ram, so I had to buy a new PSC ram. I put that one on front because this one has a little bit more steering. We'll show you the rear here in a minute. Of course, the ORIs. Everything had to be a little bit different on this axle because the tubes were bigger, so we had to change all the bracketry and basically redesign all the suspension travel. These arms unfortunately had to move out, but we compensated by moving the lower arms out, and the reason for that was the high pinion. It kept contacting the drive shaft. We also have Adams drive shafts, by the way, and they have awesome support. We needed a very custom drive shaft. There was an issue with the clearance, so I needed it smaller. So what they did was made a really long spline drive shaft so that where it was touching the upper control arm, it's now just spline, so as small as possible. We have a coupon code for Adams too. It's uppercase BleepinJeep15. He's a really awesome guy. If they don't have what you need on the website, just call them and they can hook you up. But BleepinJeep15 will give you 15% off of any
Bleep, right?
capital Bleep. And if you forget any of this stuff, it's on the website, BleepinJeep.com, and then go under member discounts. But anyway, he set us up with custom drive shafts for this thing. We went with 1350 U-joints, so we have 1350 now. And so it's a lot bigger. Like the 1310s I was using was about that big, and now they're much bigger and beefier. Something else you might notice is different is the wheels and tires. What I did was take that off the Comanche for now. These are Raceline wheels, but I do plan on going with the Milestar 42s when those come in. They're not available yet, but hopefully mid-summer I'll get a set of those. These came off the Comanche, and since it was simple and easy, other than the Comanche is on jack stands right now.
Yes, it
but
is.
Since I was going to go with the 42-inch tire, I had a 42-inch tire out there. To check for clearances and everything, it was simple because it's the same bolt pattern and everything, just to pull those, put them on here for now. But the creme de la resistance is this rear axle right here. Come check this out. So the rear axle is a Dana 60 as well, Fusion. It's a low pinion, which is stronger on the rear, high pinion, stronger on the front. We have a Barnes truss on here. I raised that up. This was a custom truss, and you could put it anywhere. And since our chunk is in the middle, we cut that out. I raised it up as high as possible. That gave me a lot of ground clearance here, but it also made it a little tight up here. So if I did it again, I'd probably come down just a tad. But what that does is get my arms up really high, which is really good, so they're not hitting on stuff. So the Barnes truss, the Barnes full hydro, we've got the PSC ram. I took the ram off the front and put it back here. We were dealing with the Dana 44 before, so I had limited the travel. That's going to work good back here because I don't want full travel in the rear. So the suspension didn't change much on the rear. We're still running the ORIs. I have an anti-rock sway bar added into that. Some people say you don't need the sway bar with the ORIs, but I just found it was helpful to further stabilize the rig. The upper arms had to be lengthened a little bit, but otherwise all the suspension components are pretty much the same. We didn't run into any geometry issues or travel issues because in the rear there's just not a whole lot to hit because you don't have to go around your engine, so it was much easier back here in the rear. But the coolest thing about this is the rear steer, of course, and that's controlled by this busted knuckle controller. This piece right here, it's hard to see. It's just a sensor that tells where the tires are, and it's got a little computer, and I'll show you the buttons here in just a second, but when you want it to, it'll self-center and keep your rear axle straight. So what controls the rear steer is this hydraulic pump right here, and it's pretty cool. It's got a little computer in there, and it just sends hydraulic fluid, and it's really quick. From what I understand, this is the same thing they used in the monster truck industry. I had to remove the seat. For one, I needed a place to put this pump. Two, I never really ever used the back seat. And three, I'd like to get all of my tools, which are very heavy, I want to get them down further so the center of gravity stays a lot lower, because they used to be back here behind the axle up high. Now I want to put them down low and behind the seats down here. So check this out. This is the joystick from Busted Knuckle. They machined this, and this is the control. So you move your thumb left or right, that moves your axle. This trigger right here, if you press that, it will stop it. And then also you can hit this button here, which will turn off the self-centering. So let's try it out. So right now the self-centering is off. I can turn those tires any which direction that I'd like. And then whenever I want to self-center, you just press this button and they self-center automatically. Now if you keep that on, and let's say you're racing or something, you can rear steer turn, and then when you let go, it automatically self-centers. If you want to hold it, you can press the trigger. When you hold the trigger, it'll stay locked until you let go. Or if you turn this button off and you steer, then you can just click the button again and it'll self-center. You don't need self-centering, but I've never had rear steer before, and I just thought it'd be a good thing to do while I'm putting it in the first place, so I don't have to go back and add it later.
It's been a rough week.
Yes, we're totally exhausted, but we're finally done. Let's take it out. I'm going to show you how this drives in the driveway, and then we'll put it on the trailer. In the next video, we'll be in Bantam.
You're gonna get through that tiny little space.
We have axles and crap in the way, and it's impossible to get out of here without rear steer right now. So let's see if we can do it. That's so weird. I'm hitting something already. Alright guys, that's Scorpion 2.0. I really need to go get used to it. So we're headed to Bantam right now. That's a show. After that, we've got AOAA, which is the ultimate 4x4 field trip. If you signed up for that, we'll see you there. And I am going to have a lot more videos coming out on this pretty soon. So stay tuned. And in the meantime, watch these. We'll see you guys next time.